Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As always, a very warm welcome to our dear brothers, sisters, and if I can put it, our dear Safiya TV family. Yes, we are one big family. Joining us today on this special show, this special transmission of Hajj, and as I mentioned previously, we're going to be looking at the philosophy and practices of Hajj overall. Now, we're in a very exciting, but albeit exciting, very detrimental time as well. Why? Because now we are getting into some of the complexities of Hajj itself. So as you remember, we are now in phase 2. And now, specifically speaking, we're going to be discussing the ihram and what can be done, what cannot be done. So we are joined today by our dear respected Hajj expert, our alim, Syed Ali Raza Rizvi. Dear Sayyidina, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I hope you're well today.
Alhamdulillah.
Dear Syed, so carrying on from where we left last time, we're discussing the prohibitions during the ihram. I have noted here in number 7 that perfuming oneself or eating and rubbing perfume on the body specifically is not allowed.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. There are many prohibitions while in ihram, and one of them is using perfume. As you remember that we said in the philosophy of Hajj that a person has to, when wearing ihram, imagine that they are in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are at all times in the presence of Allah. But Hajj and death are special occasions.
Yes.
Where everyone is reminded of the duty that we have towards God. And one of the things that while you're in ihram is forbidden is perfume.
Okay.
So you cannot use any perfume, men or women. No perfumes are allowed. In fact, if a person dies in the state of ihram, then they are not given even the kafur, or the rubbing of hunut, which is basically rubbing of camphor on the parts of sajda.
Okay.
So it is something very special that a person has to avoid using any perfumes, any shampoos, any soaps which are perfumed, and any sorts of perfumes for men and women are forbidden while in the state of ihram. Now, as far as many of the foods and oils are concerned, they have to be, you have to make sure that you don't use any perfume. Many times we use a lot of different types of elements in food that have beautiful smell.
Yes.
So you have to try and avoid them while cooking for the Hajis. And even if you can, then you have to try and avoid smelling it and while eating.
Okay. So to be open, it has to be quite bland, so to speak. You can't add no spices, no aroma.
Aromas, that's the very nice word. So even if there is, because someone else has cooked it for you,
yes,
then you must not smell the food and say how nice it smells and everything. Avoid it while eating and eat it without smelling the food.
Okay, I see. And they say that's quite interesting because you mentioned also that perfumes in your shampoo and conditioners, that's also not allowed?
Even that should be avoided.
Okay.
And you must not use that.
So as an alternative then, our dear Hajis or those who do go for Hajj would have to use like those scentless bottles and... Okay, I see. They say then, carrying on from this, what about when someone's doing tawaf? I know there's a whole show dedicated to this, but from point of view of ihram, sometimes if you're going around the Kaaba, there's perfume on it as well. So what about in that state?
So sometimes they actually use some sort of smoke or some other means of making the Kaaba itself. So while you're doing tawaf, you don't have to avoid that smell.
Okay.
So you can smell it, but you must not use any perfumes yourself.
Okay.
So if there is any smell that is coming, beautiful smell, then you can and you can avoid it. Then you have to. But while doing tawaf, then it is not wajib to.
Okay.
The smell that comes from Kaaba, which is very beautiful smell. Special things are used, and that is not haram according to Sayyid Sistani.
Okay. And carrying on from this, dear Syed, we get this asked quite a lot now that I'm in the state of ihram, I'm not allowed perfume on my clothes, my body, but whilst I'm performing the tawaf, there's someone else that does have it. And because it's quite packed during the days of Hajj, I bump into him. And so his perfume rubs off on my ihram or my skin. Would that be a problem for me?
Because you cannot remove it straight away, unfortunately, then it is okay, but you do not smell it.
Okay.
So you avoid it to the best of your ability.
Okay.
But if anything like that happens, then you can continue with your tawaf. But if you can, for example, if you've got the perfume on your body from someone else, then you must wash it off.
Okay, I see. Thank you, dear Syed, once more. The next point we have here, Sayyidina, is point number 8, avoiding bad smell. So we know perfume with fragrance, but on the other side now, we have bad smells. Do we have to avoid them as well?
You must not avoid the bad smell.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you cannot, for example, if you, many people, God forbid, there are many deaths there, and accidents happen, unfortunately, in Mina especially. Or when you're queuing up outside the toilets and everything, and you are in places where there has been some bad smell because of whatever reasons, because of the rubbish that people have been throwing there, unfortunately, that happens. You cannot avoid any of the bad smell.
Okay.
So even after death, because when we are, God forbid, rotting in the grave, you cannot avoid that. And likewise, in the state of ihram, one must not avoid any foul smell.
Okay.
So that cannot be avoided.
So far, it seems to me like when you're in the state of ihram, it's like you're being reminded of your grave as well at the same time. There's a lot of link, as we've discussed so far.
Yes, it is a great reminder that, look, this life is short, it's a transition. And in the state of ihram, you should imagine that you are in the presence of God and you are cut off from the world. And you try and avoid the things like good smell and nice things, of the worldly things, and must not avoid the other things like bad smell, to remind yourself who you really are.
Yes.
We have a very humble beginning and a very humble ending. And in between, we sometimes become very big people. We think we become big people. And it is a reminder that no arrogance, no enjoyment. It is the enjoyment should be spiritual rather than worldly, or things that remind you of joy and temptations.
Yes, certainly. So it's a test of your patience, both physically and spiritually at the same time.
Yes.
But they say then, what about, we live in the modern age now. There's a lot of cars, vans, automobiles. They let out a lot of steam, petrol, gas. How can we avoid that then?
You can avoid that. And that is not for good or bad smell reasons. It is for health reasons. So men can wear a mask to avoid that. The women can also hold their nose or something like that to avoid the emissions and all of the other fumes that are given off by the cars, buses, electric devices that are being used like air conditioning. I don't know.
Yes.
There can be all sorts of things. There's a whole long list. To be honest, I can't even imagine now. Can't think of long list. But you can avoid all of those emissions and So the smell from it is not because of bad smell or good smell. It is because of health reasons.
Okay. Thank you, Syed. So now we have point number 9 for prohibitions during ihram, decoration. So things like rings or gold for women. If you could just provide a brief overview of this and why.
Hajj is all about being attracted to God, paying attention to God,
yes,
not showing off, not beautifying yourself. So decoration or anything that counts as beautification is prohibited.
Yes.
So usually we, men and women wear jewelry or any other decorative things to look nice, to be attractive. And that has to be avoided in Hajj completely. So any jewelry that women wear for beautification is not permissible. Likewise for men as well. Okay. So rings with the intention of jewelry or decoration is not permissible. But with the intention of istihbab, which are obviously special stones, precious stones, then it is permissible. So, but generally any ornaments, jewelry, or any other means of attraction and beautification are not permissible.
Okay. But they said we have some people with medical conditions now, and there's a special like copper bracelet or copper ring they have, which gives out metals and so on, nutrients to the skin, which is needed for medical reasons. Would that be an exemption here?
If it is necessary, only and only if it is necessary in terms of medical reasons, it would be permissible. Otherwise, even that is not permissible.
Okay, I see. And going back to the point you just made now about Hajj being simple, you're not meant to attract yourself or others or be attracted to others, it's for God only. What about people who are used to combing their hair, applying, color to their hair type of thing? Is that also prohibited?
Now, some of those things may be permissible if you've previously done this. So if you've previously colored your hair, dyed your hair, or have performed some of the things that are, then you can't change it, then it's fine. But while in the state of ihram, those are not permissible.
Okay.
So it will not be permissible to dye your hair while in ihram, or while in the state of ihram, you cannot do certain things. It is best to avoid any sort of beautification while in the state of ihram. So not only that, you cannot just cut your hair or, so any beautification. So you've combed your hair before ihram, just leave it at that.
Okay.
And while in the state of ihram, many people continuously comb their hair, continuously, look themselves up in the mirror. And so you can't look in the mirror, you cannot beautify yourself. You try and avoid all of those.
Okay, so even looking in the mirror, be it like a normal mirror, or if you're in the elevator in your hotel or so on?
You cannot.
Nothing. Oh, wow. Okay. It's quite strict, it seems. Okay.
Yeah, so it's one of the things which are prohibited for both men and women to look in the mirror.
I see. Okay. They say then, moving on from point number 9, we come to point number 10. Again, it's to do with oiling of the body for treatment. Again, is that allowed then, or in the state of ihram, no go?
Before I explain that, can I just quickly make a point that if you're driving and you look in the car mirror,
yes.
So you're not looking at yourself, basically you're looking at the traffic,
yes.
And that's permissible. But looking at yourself in the mirror will not be permissible.
Okay.
And as far as applying oils are concerned, they are prohibited. If it is for treatment purposes, then it is permissible. But if it is not for treatment purposes, sometimes there are many different cosmetic products,
yes.
For beautification, again for smell, for different reasons, then those are not permissible. But if it is for treatment purposes, then it is permissible.
Okay, I see. And following on from this, dear Syed, we have point number 11, eyeliner. Now again, if it's for adornment, perhaps that's not allowed, but what about if people just want to do it just for the sake of it? It's just a habit.
For either reasons, eyeliners are not allowed.
Okay.
You're not allowed, because again, it comes under beautification, and it is not permissible. It's one of the things that is not allowed while in the state of ihram.
Okay. But something quite closely linked to this perhaps is eye drops, for medical purposes. Would that count?
For medical purposes, the eye drops are fine.
Okay, fine. And they say now we come to point number 12, which is nail clipping. Again, is that permissible? Or if it is permissible, in what circumstances?
While in the state of ihram, nail clipping is not permissible.
Okay.
But if women wanted to nail clip as for taqseer at the end of ihram,
yes,
that is permissible, but during ihram it is not permissible. So to end the ihram, so once you have either shaved, men will shave the hair, women are not allowed to shave the hair. Women are only going to either shorten their hair or cut some of their nails as part of taqseer, okay, which is one of the wajib parts of Hajj. So only for that reason it is permissible, but for just picking cutting your, clipping your nails or another person's nails is not permissible while in the state of ihram.
Okay, so it's only for the purposes of taqseer for women,
yes,
specifically. Okay, and they say then the next prohibition we have noted here is again, we mentioned this previously, but looking in the mirror. But what if someone's looking in the mirror not for adornment, but it's just that they've got something in their eye, or they've just got like an injury, they want to see that? Is that permissible?
Yeah, if they had to look in the eye to remove something, like a hair or something that has entered the eye, then it is okay. But for other reasons, it's not.
Okay, I see. It's getting quite involved, as I can see. The prohibitions are quite strict, as we've discussed. But sadly, they say that brings us to the end of the show for today. Dear viewers, please do join us again in our next episode, where we're going to be continuing in examining the prohibitions during ihram. But to give you a bit of taste of what's to come, in the next episode, we're going to be looking at, specifically speaking, married couples. So if you're going with your wife, what things are allowed, what things are not allowed in the state of ihram. So it should be a very interesting episode. Do tune in to us on this special show from Sophia TV on the practices and philosophies of Hajj. I, Zuryaab Syed, and on behalf of Molana Syed Ali Raza Rizvi, would like to take your leave. Please remember us in your du'as. Until next time, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.